I greet you categorically. Fishermen's friends, bottom fishing rod lovers, bottom fishing for bream, roach and all peaceful fish. Still with you Puzanov Sergey. And we are as always on my beloved Moscow River. This is a location within the city limits. I know her well, a couple of fishing trips. I spent the most productive time here. The weather was actually much better. Some other breakdown is happening now. As always, forecasters don't understand anything about this. They promise to snow, although if it snows, roach that is going to catch here. Love precipitation in the form of snow. Now the weather is like morning. As if it were evening, and in fact it's simple. One shade goes. The color does not change at all. You can record a video and say that it's evening now. You can write down that it is early morning and so on. But I think such an elephant is the weather for white fish is always a disaster. For a predator it's always a holiday. But nevertheless some frosts from Moscow are coming. To the Moscow region. Accordingly, you need to insulate yourself properly. I'm wearing a suit right now, which I acquired at the time. With a defined format. It will be convenient to fish with it as a feeder. And in the holes. I started fishing this season. Returned to the ice after 13 years. That's why in the region. Our ice is not thick, winter as you can see is like this. So the float suit is definitely still safety. Choose clothes correctly. To fish in any weather. Regardless of the fish bite. Let's go catch. On today's fishing trip we will talk more about the nuances. Or more precisely, about favorite theses that fishermen love to watch videos. That is, we won't drag it out for long, and about feeding measures and so on. Let's talk specifically about the theses. Theses in what in this location there is also a bream. And roach, bream by Moscow standards this winter. Somewhere around 500-800 grams, quite large. Roach 350,400 is almost the norm and standard. You rarely surprise anyone. Today, we'll try to catch roach first of all. Although the cloudiness of the weather suggests that, which is what past experience suggests, that in this kind of weather the fish are not afraid to come here. Come to this location. What's the point of depth? Almost flat level table to the coastline. Depth of about 233.5 meters. The depth is shallow. In bright sunny weather the roach here are simply standing in abundance. There is nothing for bream to do here. He doesn't like such depth with such bright sun. It's cloudy today, so I think it will be as clear and understandable as possible. The presence of two types of fish. Let's try to settle down. And I'll tell you a little secret. The secret of sports professional chips buns. How to try to breed fish or adapt to It's winter. The first nuance is of course the supply of a live component. It's not for nothing that now, unlike regular fishing, I have two dirty little cups like this on my table. One chopped bloodworm. In another there is chopped maggot, plus also aroma. The maggots have been given a flavor that the fish here love. This is Grand Series. Under the name of Sport Aromatics, which works in almost any body of water. For roach it's just perfect. I always drip it when I start cutting maggots. I don't add anything to the modal. It is natural accordingly. For fish, cut food is the maximum. Cool signal. For bream in the first place. Well, and for all types of fish, from the start. I fed the far point, it's about 40 plus meters. And the nearest one is about 30. They showed it on the last fishing trip. That fish, are mostly found both there and there. But the bream stays closer to the near border. Because there is a small spruce groove there. He gets out of it periodically. Unfortunately, it won't be possible to catch the groove itself. It is heavily silted up. Everything is covered in dirt. The nozzle is extremely difficult to find there. I went there accordingly. Fed on cut bloodworms. Long range with cut maggot. Let's see what the first hour brings us. Right from the start. We will fish with 2 blanks. We are not ashamed. We are not at a competition or training. We will fish with 2 blanks and see what the distance is. We'll respond faster. If the distant one responds, okay, we'll deal with it. View by species composition. What kind of fish is there and try to keep it on the right. Mercury components, because the main key. This is a tick for roach, always maggot favorite. And not a bloodworm. The bloodworm makes it just get smaller in your catch. Very small roaches gather on the bloodworm. And of course the variety of fish. But in general for roach maggots this is a priority. He will definitely increase his catches. For bream it is respectively a bloodworm. The roach is coming, we will sit on the cutting, and will retain its reputation. The roach is leaving. Okay, the bream has arrived. We are sitting on the motley cutting. Today we will try to demonstrate this. Velodia for you. So what about the first hour? Passed. Under the auspices. Don't be afraid, Seryoga. I'm here, everything will be fine. More or less. But all distances bring a little bit. Unlike previous fishing trips. Barely catch a fish. The roach is not very big. And there is no definite constancy yet, while the majority of the bites were roach. I accordingly sat in a chopped maggot-shaped component after a bream was caught on the nearby fisherman. I didn't react because one in a bunch of roaches is sometimes lost. Maybe some outcast from the flock of lilies. I didn't react accordingly. After this bream there was roach again. Then the twin little by little began to die. The long-distance fishing has started to bring roaches little by little again. Roach without bream. I kept sitting there like that. Component in the form of chopped maggots. After literally as if an hour plus passes by the stopwatch. The roach disappeared. Just stopped biting. One maggot, two maggots. The leash is longer, shorter, hooks different, less more. There is no reaction at either close or long distances. Okay, that's a good sign. Or everything is really bad. Accordingly, as what is a good sign? I just put on a bunch of bloodworms, threw it to the near one. In 10 seconds the bend in the bream is in place. This speaks to that. What is this fuss and bustle about, which the roach arranges on the bottom there, scattering bait with their fins and tails? The bream has finally arrived. Okay. I put on the moth and continue on. Just in the format of such stupidity. 4 minutes, maybe even 5 somewhere. I start working at close range. I hope everything will work out for me, and most importantly, the presentation that I select must be clearly worked out and tested for you. Well, what next, as they say? Another hour passed. I decided to work on the near border from 2 forms. Because I have a new product on the market today. This is Elegance in 2 series. 3 and 6 up to 60 grams absolute parabolic, which at this distance. Allow yourself to receive a storm of emotions, will be added up from each roach, bream and so on, just bend over backwards, but I just removed the second form. I noticed right away that the bites are getting slower and longer. The pauses are getting worse and worse. At such moments there is only one left. One can only hope, believe that a roach can't just up and leave a spot. There is a good food supply for it there. There is her favorite cut latrine, all chewed up into pieces. Just take it and swallow it, tasty baits and so on. There is hope that it is a bream. And it worked. I just switched to the moth. Bream right away. Again a bunch of bloodworms, immediately bream. Here's the second bream. This is a specific signal. He is not there, one, it is a standing fish. I just cut down on the moth as much as possible. I sprinkled some more fine feed on top. Full feeder small, 4-5 cells per point. Every 3 to 4 minutes. Bend bream. Bend bream. Series of 8 fish, and as always a thought flashes through my head. Well, I figured it out. As always after this thought happens that nothing. Zero simply dies out point finally irrevocably. What to do? Need to feed the distant. Try to revive him, because the neighbor does not come to life at all. And there is bream there. The second way is just massive. Feed the neighbor with maggots and try to call the board. 3-4 feeders of completely chopped steam. They will definitely invite her. You can pull it, feed her when touching the water there at a depth of 2-3 meters. Try to spray it in his eyes. He'll definitely leave. The roach will swim up as the spot becomes free. And tiered component feed. Again the favorite topic of roach. That's what I did. I have fed both the distant and the near ones. What happened? I'm sitting with 2 forms again. All 2 forms just start to bend one after another. This is roach, bream and so on. Well, literally after the 10th feeder, the fish disappears somewhere again. You start to check control. With a bunch of bloodworms attachment. Again the bream bends from all 2 distances this bream. And this is a magical presentation. First of all, it will be useful for people who are engaged in both professional fishing and sport fishing. To sit and conjure and feel it on your fingers, when you need to switch in this live company. If you are an amateur, you don't want to bother with this. Mix it sharply. Took a pinch of maggots, also a pinch of bloodworms. All of this was cut, sent to the point. They will figure out for themselves who will sail there or not. You will only have to conjure with the attachment, periodically rearrange maggots or bloodworms. Well, the guys are experienced and professional. We need to worry about this. To go straight, I can feel it right in my fingertips. This fish when it switches. Try to systematize it and session it accordingly. And if there is such a phrase, well, I will continue to conjure. I'll be sitting here now, leaning against the nearest one, with constant supplementary feeding. Let's see what this brings. After all, the weather brings out its own creativity. Mocks but not us. We are warm and comfortable. Yes, the picture is a bit gray, but I think it's okay. But the fish is very capricious. He's really being capricious. But nevertheless, I caught 3-4 more things. This is definitely a roach. That is, after a series of these breams. When you think you're doing well. Are you sure that every time the point stalls? This is a school of bream swimming in. I sat for another 20 minutes just feeding and far near. The close range device worked again, but during this feeding some glass perch bites. Which says that there are no breams there. If you have any bites on this feed with a cut bloodworm, perch and rough or something like that. Not a target fish, speaks about that the target fish is definitely no longer at the point. I am doing mass feeding. With chopped dough. Please put on 2 roach maggots. Roach. This is exactly the main trick in serving. So from the side, when you pass by some fishermen. There I am like this on the equipment. He looks like he knows a lot about fishing. You think he's doing some kind of crap. He just knows how to catch really well. He knows how to persuade fish. He fed here for a week, something else like that. No, it's a whole process flowchart. Which work either one after another. Or indicate in which direction one should move. So it's important to understand these submissions. I highly recommend it to everyone. It is necessary to have a living component in quantity, so that you can move around while fishing. If you came with 1 maggot, your fishing is almost over. That is, if the roach is inactive today. Maximally passive you will catch 3 to 4 things and go home. Although it turns out that if you lower the camera there it will come. A school of good bream and silver bream chased away the roach. Ready to peck. But only on my own. Working system of supply of live component cut motel. Bloodworm attachment. Light or heavy hooks, depending on the structure and flow. And everything turns out great, and you have already gone home. One more nuance, get ahead. I'll say right away that many will think that you can just go buy a cup, some kind of office stuff, and it will be convenient to cut in it. No, the history of these cups is quite long. I'll tell it in a nutshell. At one time when, suddenly a maggot appeared, they cut everything, I don't understand why. Then we got used to the plug cup, with which the plug is fed. It has a round bottom. What's the trick when you click scissors on a flat bottom? The maggot is hiding somewhere in the corners. Remains whole. Serving options. I only said this in the previous episodes. What a chopped maggot. He also exists in 3 or 4 hypostasis. There is a complete mess there and so on. And here when there is a round bottom at the bottom of the glass, and here it is flat. This is a very important and useful thing. The plug cup also had a round bottom on the outside. So when you sit and cut, you have a bite. Where to put this cup? You put it on the table. She just falls. Everything is spilling. Not comme il faut. Here is the solution, which has everything. What a modern fisherman needs. But it seems that way from the outside. You can take it in a regular cup and sit and cut it. One bites, second doesn't bite. No, that's where all the little things are. Nuances of fishing. There is a round bottom here, and no matter how the maggot tries to escape, he still falls in. Center scissors will find it there. Cool stuff. Pay attention to this. Google it somewhere. You can look in stores and so on. I guess I have a head like this. As always, but happy. I'm going to get ready to go home. I'll show you the catch now, of course. By Moscow standards, this is a small catch. By regional standards, probably. This is fucking awesome. He's sitting there being capricious. Everything is known, as they say, in comparison. Go fishing more often. Enjoy catching. Let's go see what we managed to catch. Interesting. This selection was made based on the number of roach and bream. Or did this impudent, harmful bream win after all? Which increasingly caught? Well, friends, here's a catch. Some kind of none, but still, we succeeded in selection. Here is a roach, which reacts so well to chopped steam with aroma. And here are those same sly priests, who come and just push out even those like this. Loaves of bread from the point of persuasion succeeded. Well done guys, you managed to catch some bream too. But you are left with. Just watch more often. My releases, subscribe to the channel, put likes. Until next time, on new fishing trips, and with you was the Fat One and Sergey. All the best, goodbye.